Live from the Green Room Studios from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh, yeah, the big orange faithful.
Rocky Top, you'll always be. Yes, how about them orange?
They took care of business.
Yes, they did. Oh, it's Saturday morning, and I stayed up late, so I'm fuzzy this morning.
I was
late to work today.
You were late to work today, yes. And I was not.
They weren't.
Nope. No, I was here. I was here bright, and not bright. It was dark and early.
Dark and early,
but all good. We're.
What are we doing here this morning?
Well, this is the At Home Show. This is the New Year's Eve edition of. Happy New Year's edition.
Is this the first one we've done since Y2K? First New Year's Eve today?
Well, no. We actually did Y2K on
Y2K
on New Year's Day. We had to advise everyone to drain the bathtubs and the waterbed mattresses that they were storing water in for the big whatever.
And the big 50s.
That did not occur, but
the 56K modems went.
Want to welcome everyone in today, and is indeed the last day of 2022, and what a difference a week can make. And I'm going to go straight to the weather here and just discuss that here. This time last week we were looking at about 5 degrees, and today 56 degrees, so it's quite a tremendous turnaround.
Not quite as breezy.
And it could not be. I mean, talk about diametric opposition from last week to this week.
Are we?
That's what we have. Yes, 61 degrees for the high today. We've got a few lingering morning showers. That's mostly east and south of town. They're pretty much out of the Nashville proper area. And 49 for the overnight low, 67 and sunshine tomorrow, mostly sunny. On Monday, it's going to 68, afternoon thunderstorms, maybe 3/10 of an inch of rain, and maybe as much as another inch on Tuesday.
That's almost an inch and a half.
That's almost 67, 47 on Tuesday. It cools down a bit on Wednesday. The sun returns 52-35, 44-32 on Thursday, 46-26 Friday.
Stop it.
53-39 next Saturday. And again, currently it is 56 degrees here. I wanted to show you what we did get in rainfall over here at the Bates Nursery. We got 89 hundredths of an inch. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom down there, but we did get, that's the official weather station.
0.87578.
So, and we're going to, looks like we're going to wind up the year for
near an inch, man.
About 51 inches. And this weather station got started late, so we missed a considerable chunk of rain at the very beginning of the year. So, all things considered, let's look at the radar here quickly, and we're going to find out that you see that there's a lot of rain to the north. That is not snow. There's a little bit of pink in there, but this is almost all rain. So I could just imagine what a slog it is in places like Buffalo. My goodness, what an awful weekend tragedy last weekend. And it was a great story. I don't know if any of you heard of a gentleman who went to the aid of a friend, and he got stuck, and he wound up saving like 10 people, breaking into a school, and they also broke into the cafeteria and had apples and cereal. And they slept on mats in the gym floor. So a pretty cool story about
Did they hold their hands neighbor?
I don't know. But I'm sure they were all grateful to get to know that guy. But anyway,
yes.
I don't know what his name is, but he should have nice things said about him for the rest of his life.
What was it, about 78 inches of rain that they received?
Not of rain. I think it was snow.
Yes.
Yeah, it was rain. Yeah, they've had like 14 feet so far.
And here we are being like 2 inches. Oh no,
it's ridiculous. So anyway, we're glad to be here today, and we're got a new graphic up there. We've actually, that's a graphic. We just haven't used it in a while, but I got that up on the screen this morning just to kind of change it up.
That's nice.
Yeah, got a little shovel on there because you know what? The people are probably thinking about getting out in the yard and digging stuff up. But wait a minute.
All that frozen stuff?
We don't want you to get carried away. I don't know if you noticed, a couple of things are looking a little peaked around the landscape.
Frostbite.
And we're going to bring in our the rest of our cast here, Josh.
Boy.
By the way, Tyler Blankenship here, capable producer. We thank
Hi,
you,
good
sir,
morning.
for bringing here. And we're also
Thank you.
glad to have Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen alongside today to fill in the blank spots. And, I got a feeling that there will be few blank spots this morning, but so you're going to jump in there aggressively and make sure that you give us that information. And I understand that there's also a surprise. Somewhere down the line here. So that's what I understand. So welcome in, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to see everybody here
I
today.
love us floating above this grass.
And I'm just going to go straight to a photograph here that kind of tells a lot. Now, you contrast this photograph with the plant that's right there to Josh's side there. That is an Acuba japonica, as is his photograph.
Oh, man.
And that's the way, if you have them outside in your landscape, that's the way they look right now. That's the way they look if they're not frozen. And a lot of people will erroneously believe, well, this plant's dead. Don't be so hasty on that. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't have severe dieback. It does, but chances are there's no damage to the root system or little. They're a very vegetative type of growth habit. It's the stems never hardly get brown at all. They stay very green. So the recovery can be actually quite rapid.
It's going to be vertically challenged
But
in the spring,
it's not going to be rapid it's going to be for a little bit. But Acubas, I have seen them successive years get killed back and still come back out of the ground. So don't be concerned about that. But, almost all broadleaf plants have suffered significant damage. And I'm pretty sure, rather than our segment of what's in bloom, what's been burned, Austin. And, because I wrote about in a newsletter this week titled it Scorched. And certainly I think that's pretty close to what things appear to have had done to them. But it's a freeze burn. It's not a burn from heat.
That's right. And we decided to decorate the green room today with those plants that really were affected. And so we've got some Loropetalum out front, which is the purple leaf plants you see. Out back, we've got some laurels. I know everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to have questions about their laurels. Laurels got significantly burned this year, significantly.
Hammered.
They look really bad.
I think Miss Demetria Kalidimos had a post on Facebook last night about her laurels.
Well,
we're going to have a lot of questions about
no
laurels.
one's going to be resting
We
on their
do
laurels.
have a lot.
Yeah, we already do. Yeah, they're they got severely affected this year. I mean, it was just very, very cold for mainly the broadleaf evergreens. Deciduous plants are a little bit better with handling that cold. They don't have leaves. And the leaves that are on the broadleaf evergreens look really, really bad. Now, like what David said, is they're not necessarily dead. As we know so far, that's going to be kind of the thing, is we kind of have to just wait. There's nothing you can really do at the moment. You're not going to cut anything or cover anything. I mean, there's nothing no great, thing we can give you that's going to turn those plants around. We just have to wait till spring. The good thing about broadleaf evergreens is that their leaves can look pretty bad, but they got buds down below those leaves that are still hopefully viable and will produce new leaves in the spring that will cover up those old ones. So, there's some things we can try if you're an experimenter. I was thinking about this last night. If you want to experiment, say you've got like 3 laurels in a row, or you got like 4.
That's a song title.
Yeah. Is it?
3 laurels in a row, maybe 4.
But
Don't derail him.
yeah, I was on something.
Squirrel!
So if you've got, say, 3 to 5 or whatever, and you want to just have fun with your plants, you want to do something over the winter, this is what we can do. We can take one plant, one laurel, let it be. Don't do anything. That's our control. That's the one we're just going to leave. The next one, let's cut it in half. Just because. Why not? Let's just cut it in half, see what happens in the spring. And then with the third one, let's strip every single leaf off, every single one of them, and just get it back to sticks and see what happens from there. What do y'all think about this?
Well, I don't think that's crazy talk, but
Now, are we talking about cutting it in half horizontally or vertically?
horizontally.
Horizontally.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good then.
Yeah, I'm glad
Just to
that you
take those sticks from up top, down a little bit. Just cut them in half and just see some stuff come from down below. Now, you're obviously going to lose some height on your laurels.
And I think that what your little experiment points out is that the toughest part about this is that people will have a difficult time in just looking at these really awful looking plants with the full winter still ahead of us.
I know.
Now, that might be the extent or certainly the worst of the winter we have the entire year at the very outset of winter, which is extremely unusual. But what it means is you may have at least a couple of months to look at these really
Nasty,
awful looking plants.
looking.
And there's really not a lot you can do about it. As a matter of fact, if you want to use your time most efficiently, you will simply wait and allow new growth to begin to show you how far back the damage has occurred on it. And you'll see leaves start to push out, and they will tell you, here's where you need to cut back to at least this far. Mm-hmm. You can cut further, but I suspect that there will be many laurels that the halfway back will probably be more the norm than the exception. I think that there's a lot of them have gotten, in order to get beyond all of the dead tips on there, I think about halfway back, but I don't
do it yet.
I would recommend not doing that yet. I would really just try to be patient, and I know that's really tough, but just drive around town and look at everybody else's, and you go, okay.
We're all in this together.
Now there are some things, we got laurel pedalum out in front. If you've got laurel pedalum, or let me put it this way, if you had laurel pedalum, those are not. I'd say that there's a 99% probability that you don't have laurel pedalum anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, because we had virtually no snow cover or minimal, perhaps we didn't get enough to really provide sufficient insulation over the top, and that's really what, particularly on the ground cover types of laurel pedalum, would save them. They are not a particularly hardy plant. Below zero temperatures are lethal. Mm-hmm. They're not just damaging; they will kill them. So that's a reason why that we don't sell them as a warranted item, because they're not reliably hardy here, and we try to make sure to tell everybody you should consider something else, because I know they look great in the summer. They got great looking foliage and they flower a lot, and they do some nice things. But they're really not hardy here, not reliably hardy. And when we have a winter like we've already had, just a week ago, it does devastating damage quickly. And these severe wind chill that was hard on any kind of animals, or particularly humans that might have been outdoors, was desiccating the plants. It just dries out their leaves badly. And I was out at about 4 a.m. on last Friday morning, when the front was just coming through, and it was already in the single digits, had not gone below zero yet. It was absolutely
it was cold last
howling.
Saturday morning in here.
It was howling. So it's the damage that has been wreaked on the landscapes. We're going to be. That story and that level of damage is going to be unfolding as we go forward through the winter season.
Mm-hmm. You know what else took a big hit was hollies. You don't think about hollies being all that finicky or anything. They're extremely hardy plants, but man, they are like black. Like a lot of them, like the leaves just turned this brownish, blackish color, and they are not good.
They were still a little bit juicy though, weren't they?
Mine looks great.
No, some around town are fine. It's funny how wind and temperature can change depending on your home and where they're at and all that type of stuff. But a lot of hollies are looking rough right now. Now, I do not expect hollies to not come back. Those are going to be just fine.
Right.
But yeah, like we're talking about, you're going to have to live with them looking a little rough right now. It's just part of it.
Yeah. And cutting them back is almost a certainty.
Yeah.
there will be few things really that will have just a very light tip burn. There's a lot of things, and particularly any hollies that are out freestanding. If they're close to the foundation of the house where they were afforded a bit of protection, they probably are not stressed as much as the ones that were perhaps out on the opposite side of the sidewalk from the house, whether they're just that little bit less is a demonstrable difference as far as how much damage that the plants received.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure we've got some folks that have questions about their landscape. We probably have gotten some in over the last days here. And, of course, those come in through our social media, through our At Home Show Facebook page, through Instagram, through Bates Nursery pages, and also through our Google Docs that goes out through the newsletter where you can post up questions, and we'll answer them right here live on Saturday mornings.
One of our viewers, I believe it was Miriam, tagged me and you in a post on another page. I don't know why she's out looking at any other page on Facebook, but I mean that's a separate argument altogether. The fellow had received from, I believe it was the Arbor Day Foundation, and I've lost the post, and that drives me crazy that I can't find it again. But he had received bare-rooted tree seedlings, packed in a moisture-type gel that had frozen on the front porch or in the mailbox, and wanted to know if they were going to still be viable.
Maybe.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah,
right?
You've already got them now. You might as well. Those gel types of packing materials that they're water based, so they're going to freeze just like water will freeze. The question is how far below freezing did they get, and did they get cold enough? If they just laid out there in the below zero weather, I'd just go ahead and throw them away. Go to the compost pile with them and not worry about it.
Kindling.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Well, he had made a donation, but I mean, he described from the post that the gel had actually frozen.
Yeah, well, it's not just the fact it could have frozen and be 23 degrees and it'd be absolutely no issue. But when it gets down below 17 degrees, which I have no knowledge of how far below freezing that temperature went. It could well be devastating. I mean, you've got them. It's not going to cost you but some time to get those in the ground and to see if they...
the only ones that I've ever been successful with in those seedling and the bare roots like that, I've always started them in a pot and let them stay at least
the good thing about doing it that way, Josh, and that's a really good idea, is that if in the event they don't thrive, it's very easy to get rid of them.
You can put pansies in.
Yeah, and if they do survive, they're very easy to go ahead and transplant. So that's a good way to deal with those. Absolutely.
Well, you avoid weed eater damage.
Right.
And mowing over them. That's usually what happened in the past.
Yeah. Well, it kind of sets them out because they're above the ground and maybe I should.
Well, if you hit them with the riding lawn.
Maybe I should not hit the string trimmer on these and, beat them up.
They're hard to flag.
Well, but they shouldn't need flagging if they're in a container above the ground.
They shouldn't.
No. So there you go.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome all of our new YouTube viewers this morning. Thank you if you're here from the newsletter. We appreciate you for tuning in, and we are taking questions live as well as answering previously asked questions. So please message away, and we hope we did address some of your concerns with the evergreen damage that we're seeing right now. But we've got some other questions down the pipe for that.
We have a lot of questions this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have.
But before we get to our questions, I think that there's boxes in front of everybody. Some little at-home show fairy might have brought New Year's gifts for everybody on the show. So I think we should take a moment to go ahead and look at those and open them.
Well, let's just do that
What
here.
could it be?
I have mild trepidation, I will admit. That's a...
Who got theirs open first?
Oh, my goodness.
This says Caroline Gant on it. Oh, that must have been who ordered them.
No.
Yeah, don't read anything on there.
I'm not reading your address or any of that stuff.
Do you need
Don't show my address on the screen. Austin got into his first.
Oh, look at this.
Wow.
Coffee mug.
Oh my goodness.
You had to pick my worst faces to put on this.
So now we have matching cups
we
for our
each
coffee.
have our own.
Personalized at-home show.
Yeah.
This is really good. We got to drink out of these.
Yes, we do. So now you have to drink out of your at-home show mug. And everyone
I'm
has
gonna go
two
ahead and-
photos.
Two really good photos.
Two really great
Oh,
photos.
Yeah.
yes.
And actually, this is from Tyler and I. We got together and we chose these photos. And you're
Y'all
saying
did do it together. I
we
knew
did.
it. I
Tyler's a
knew it.
great liar. I'm not.
It's not. I read it all over his face yesterday.
There I am. Do I say that a lot? There I am.
When we
When-
find you, when you're on your green screen.
Oh, there I am.
There I am.
It's
That's
3:30 somewhere. We might as well drink.
All right, I'm excited about this. Mine says "Stay bloomed."
Mine says, "Hush, Josh."
Hold them up,
Well-
y'all. I'm gonna get a close up of
Zoomy.
yeah.
Mine has a mustache.
Mine's got a.
That was from when I caught Caroline with her mustache.
Austin's is great.
It's so good.
Where's Kev?
Thank you. This is
Happy
nice.
New Year.
Yes.
You're welcome.
There's David and Josh's.
3:30.
Yeah, Josh got 3:30,
3:30.
and David is there. I am.
There I am.
There I am. Prost.
Yeah,
All right, Tyler, you've got to show yours.
Oh yeah, I forgot about mine.
How could you forget about yours?
Oh, because I'm
Listen.
running the show.
Okay, let's see.
What?
I'll mute you.
I'll mute you, yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes. Thank you. This was
And
sweet.
Tyler, you're very
Thank
welcome.
you, guys. That's very thoughtful
Thank
and
you.
very original.
And now we have matching mugs, so bringing the show even more together.
Yeah, we have our dissimilar mugs on our matching mugs.
They're the same, only different.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right. So I think it's time to get to some questions because, like
Okay.
I said, we have a whole lot. A lot of the questions are about the freeze and plant damage. So we are going to address a couple of those, but we have talked about it pretty in depth already this morning. Our first question of the morning comes from Miriam, and it's a crepe myrtle question.
Hi, Miriam.
Good morning, Miriam. What and when is the definitive method, if any, for pruning crepe myrtle?
The definitive method.
What is it, Austin?
It's about time to do it. I guess I'll say that. I'm getting ready to prune mine. You don't necessarily have to prune a crepe myrtle, Miriam. You don't. I mean, you can let it be if you want. Now, I have noticed that if you give it a little bit of a tip trim, you get a little bit more branching and you get a lot more flower power. So if you just leave them, I actually did this to my crepe myrtle last year. I left it, did not prune whatsoever. I left all the seeds on. As you notice now, the seeds are all still there. If you leave those, then you don't necessarily get as great of a show, if you ask me. So I'm going to go in this year and I'm going to take every one of those stems, all the, twigs, and prune them back. I'm going to take some that are, real small, like they don't, they're like smaller than a pencil, the stems like that. Go ahead and prune those away and just keep the nice chunky ones. And then I'm going to go ahead and prune off all those seeds and just give it a nice little trim at the top. Nothing just severe. We've all heard of crepe murder. This is whenever you take those really big stems and you just literally clear cut them, get rid of everything else, and you don't really get a great show the next year. They look awful over the wintertime. Not necessarily the recommended practice, but if you go in there and just kind of, prune them up from the tops down just a little bit, get rid of all those seeds and get rid of all those small stems, you'll have a nice looking crepe myrtle next year. And actually, we'll see what crepe myrtles are going to do next year. I would assume some got some damage. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, I'm going to tell you with certainty some got damaged, and,
Yeah.
and it's very cultivar dependent. A Natchez crepe myrtle, by far the most hardy. That's the big, tall, white ones you see. They will receive much less damage, maybe just a very tip damage. They're very tough. However, there are other cultivars that are decidedly less so. There will be some, and Dr. Alan Lincoln, a longtime friend of the show here in Bates Nursery, he and I both recall when I think it was the years 78, 79, and 80, where they got killed to the ground 3 years in a row. So, so if you decide to go, if you decide you're going to go out there and do a little trimming on them right now, don't put your trimmers completely away. As a matter of fact, you may have to have loppers.
Sharpen them
if
up.
they're really large, you might have to have a small chainsaw. There's going to be damage on crepe myrtles this year. I can almost assure you that will be the case. And Miriam, in the case of yours, you have some really large ones around the perimeter of your property, and they are a big pink. I don't know if they're Miami. You're gonna have some damage on them. I'm almost certain. Personally, for me, and what I'm going to do with those at my house is just wait and see where new growth begins to emerge, and because I don't like just doing stuff duplicate, triplicate. I'm just going to wait and let nature tell me where they're going to come out. Then you cut it back to that point.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be your easiest bet. So just find something else to worry about.
Yeah, the aluminum pond has got brown turkey fig in front and 2 red rockers.
Yeah,
right there.
I've got figs are another. I don't know. Did anybody ask any fig questions this week?
No, not over on the Instagram.
Well, we'll
side
just go ahead and throw that one in, and while we're at it, you can bet your figs are going to be killed to the ground. And if you had them mulched heavily, they'll come back out. If you did not, they might not. We did not have any insulating snow on the ground to speak of, so I expect my huge one in my side yard to go all the way back to the ground, and we'll see what happens.
I didn't think about my fig tree. Mine always comes back from the ground, but I didn't think about it dying. A little bit heartbroken right now thinking about it.
Yeah, just because you're a horticulturist does not exempt you from the ravages of nature.
Oh no, I'm sure I lost a ton of stuff.
Now, I will say this to everyone, the staff here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center really did an incredible job of working through and getting us as prepared as it was possible, and we really came through in great fashion. But what I want to talk about first is Earth Mix Garden Products. Quickly, if you're going to have success in growing your plants, maybe you need to give a little boost to them. As they start coming out of dormancy, you might want to get out there and put some Earth Mix Supernatural around them, or perhaps you're going to be someone who says, I don't want to wait for these plants to come out. I want to replant. Make sure you use Earth Mix Landscape in those situations. Earth Mix Garden Products are 100% organic, sustainably produced right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and they are available at the finest garden centers all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even into southern Ohio and Indiana. Check out all the locations on the Earth Mix website. Go to earthmix.net and click on the Find Earth Mix tab. I'm not going to do that this time, but there's a map, and you can put your address in, and it'll give you turn-by-turn directions to a location nearest you. Remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. So I want to just throw that out there quickly today, and let us get back to the questions. We have a lot.
Well, we have viewers from Mexico and from Pensacola watching the show this morning.
Well, good morning.
Que bueno.
Good morning, everyone.
And from Pawpaw Springs, McMinnville.
Wow, McMinnville.
Awesome.
Merida, Mexico.
All right, but let's get to some more questions because we do have a lot.
Okay.
We are in Zone 9. When should I feed hydrangeas?
Zone 9.
Zone 9.
What's Zone 9? Like Florida?
That's
Birmingham.
South Florida.
Yeah.
That's like
South Florida. That's way down there, huh?
That's Marco Island across to Miami,
Oh, wow.
South Florida, and
Well,
below.
General rule of thumb with feeding anything is whenever they're actively growing and when they're actively using, the nutrients down below. So if we're going to, whenever they wake up in the spring, I guess I don't even know if hydrangeas down there, do they even go dormant?
Not usually,
I don't know.
but they do begin to stop flowering simply because the day length issue and cooler temperature. So it's not unusual for them to kind of back off for a bit. I did speak to my good friend Walter Richardson, who lives in Marco Island, yesterday, and he says they got down to close to 40 degrees. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to slap him. Anyway, most of those things are quite dormant for tropicals. They don't go completely dormant. They're not really going to start juicing up probably for a few weeks yet. So it will as the days begin to get longer.
That's right. And so whenever they start actively growing and start pushing out leaves, that's when we want to fertilize and get them, the nutrients down to the plant, and then they'll be able to use it. So
Yep.
there you go.
We get that question a lot.
Yeah.
House plants, landscape plants, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Can I repot my split leaf monstera now because the pot is too big and it's dying? Absolutely, especially if it's in a pot that's too big. Let me make sure I read that right.
I think she said it's drying, but
And it's dying.
Dying?
It's dying.
Uh-oh.
It says drying.
It could be
It's
drying,
drying
could be
out.
dying.
No,
No, I think Tyler
misread
had
that.
Could be
had a
dying
mistype.
because
It says dying, yeah.
They got lost in translation somewhere along the way.
Yeah, it says
Anyway.
the pot it's in is too big and it's dying. So absolutely, if
Oh.
that pot is too big and it's dying, not drying,
That means it's staying too wet.
it's staying too wet. And I would immediately take that out, let those roots dry out, and go ahead and check and make sure there's not any dark brown or black roots on there. And if there are, go ahead and cut those off because that's a sign of root rot with it sitting in a pot that was too large. Now, I usually don't suggest repotting houseplants this time of year in the dead of winter, but I do it from time to time. It should be fine. It might just be stunted for a little bit longer, and it might take a little while for you to start seeing it push new growth up top because it's spending all of its energy getting those roots back in the soil and, figuring it out its new home and its new place. But yes, go ahead and repot it and check those roots. I'm sure it'll be fine. People think, well, I'm finding the next question. People think that putting a house plant in a bigger pot will automatically make that plant larger and grow faster. It's the exact opposite. You're going to maybe kill your plant, but it also is going to take it a long time to fill that pot. Most house plants like to be pretty tight. All right. We've got a bulb question now.
What kind of question?
bulb.
Bulba.
Tulips, daffodil bulbs in pots. Too late to put them in the ground. Bulbs are in garage right now.
No, I mean, it's not too late. You need to do it, though. Yeah, I mean,
Don't
it's
don't
getting to be too late.
don't think about it any longer.
Yeah, no. We got through this cold part. I don't think that cold really affected bulbs at all. They're
Not
down
at
below.
all.
No, not at all. And bulbs are extremely hardy. But if you haven't done it, yeah, certainly it's time to do it. I mean, as Josh would say, let's do it at about 3:30 today.
3:30.
I mean, it's on his
3:30.
coffee mug, right?
It is.
It is now. It's enshrined.
That's right. So,
3:30.
yeah, get it done.
Okay. What seeds can I plant or sow outside in winter?
All right. So
Think about it.
pretty much all of them. I mean, honestly, I've mentioned this a number of times on the show before, and it's plants out in the woods or whatever. Whenever they're out, they drop their seeds typically in the fall, and they're going to lay there dormant over the wintertime and come up in the spring if things are right for them to come up. So you can do pretty much any seeds over the wintertime. It's just the key is keeping them where you want them, and don't expect every single one of them to come up. In nature, an oak tree may drop 10,000 seeds, and you may see like 3 come up. Like seriously, the numbers are not all that great. So whenever you do it in the wintertime, just don't expect every single one of those to come up. If you wait until the spring and kind of get them in a more controlled environment, you probably have better luck at getting them up. But most seeds can be dropped in the wintertime.
Yeah, and the biggest threat to wintertime seeds is if it stays too wet and they rot. Cold weather is no threat at all. They're very adept at dealing with that. But constant moisture at temperatures that are not high enough to instill germination, that's a problem. So that's something that we don't really have much control over generally. So I would, if you have them in a packet and you haven't sown them yet, I'd just kind of wait.
Just wait. Keep them in the fridge.
You're not really going to gain anything by getting them out this early.
No, you're going to lose some. That's the thing. Yeah, you just can't expect every single one of them to come up if you're going to do it right now.
Well, even under best conditions, under the most productive seed, 80% germination is really high.
Yeah.
So
Very,
it's like you said on an oak tree, it might be 0.1%. So very low, depending on what kind of seed you're talking about.
All right. I have so many seeds to plant. Just while I'm talking about it, it's in my butter thing in my fridge, taking up all the space.
It's in your
Got
butter.
some in there.
Do
you
you just
really?
like
Use
do you
that,
like
yeah.
do you just like plant the whole stick of butter? Is that the
Yeah,
way
just
you do it?
butter all over my property. That's how it works, right? Yeah, that's
The
how
fat
you do
protects
it.
the seed.
Oh,
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah, I mean
You know
it's
what?
full of seeds.
Now what I'm thinking about, do you think they mean like planting seeds inside right now? Maybe that's what they mean.
It's a little early.
It says
It said
outside.
outside.
It does say
Yeah.
outside. Okay.
It
All right.
says outside.
All right.
I used to start seeds inside. I hate it.
Well, it's this. The houses don't give enough light for seedlings. That's the problem. Seedlings get just so gangly on the inside.
Well, and
maybe you
people
don't have a grow light.
People has no sense about keeping the temperature regulated properly. They need very bright light, but they need cool temperatures. So if you want to make sure and kill your tomato plants, germinate them in a dimly lit, warm spot. They'll germinate, be very spindly, and then they'll be dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you want them to germinate, transplant, and go to bright, sunny conditions where it is very cool. You want it to go down to maybe 40 degrees overnight and maybe no more than 55 in the daytime if at all possible. And if you can do that, you'll have very short plants that have very thick stems. So just remember that.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
But it's worth it if that's what you're into.
We've got a tropical question on Facebook.
Ooh, let's hear it.
Thad says, my wife and I moved to Pensacola from Nashville to escape the cold. Great timing. We had got to 15-degree weather down here, and they had, let's see, how did it go? Great timing, I know. We recently purchased a palm and had it planted. We then got 15-degree weather here. Will it slow it down?
Bad timing.
Bad.
Yeah, it's going to slow it down.
Real slow.
It could be very slow. Yeah.
Very slow.
He didn't say what kind of palm either.
No, he didn't.
If it's a windmill palm, or it may be okay. It may just get a little damage. If
Foxtail, maybe.
That would take a big hit. Yeah.
that one would be pretty much.
So his timing's not good. Maybe it was a good time to move, not a good time to plant a palm in northern Florida, particularly.
Now that one is in particular. That's not usually planting a big palm tree is not a DIY type of project.
Well, I don't know how big is. Big's a work.
That's a go for it guy, though. I would think probably.
Probably. Yeah, he took it on moving to Florida.
He had it planted, so I'm thinking it was probably a big one.
So sorry.
Maybe it'll be okay. Like you
Maybe.
said, if it's a windmill palm,
Yeah, if it's a
do a
windmill
little
palm,
bit better.
it'll
Or
be okay.
queen, maybe.
The freeze line was down almost to Orlando, I
Yeah.
believe. So you're going to have widespread damage across the northern half of Florida, at least, where the freezing temperatures got to things that are not adept at handling that. And we're all are guilty, no matter where you live, of trying to stretch the bounds of what you can reliably use in the landscape. So if you're in the north, you might try having a southern magnolia if you're living in Chicago, and you might get by with it for a few years, then it's going to freeze out. Where here, if you're trying to stretch the bounds, laurel petalum is one of those examples we made earlier. Definitely, it's not going to make it year in and year out. And if you're in Florida and you have something that's truly more tropical in nature, you're going to have years where they get frozen out. So it doesn't really matter where you are. We have that tendency as gardeners to want to try to stretch the bounds.
Yes.
You just got to be prepared for it. And this storm that came in last weekend gave little opportunity for preparation. I'm grateful for the. I'm not grateful every day, but last time I was this past storm, I was grateful for the 50 plus years I've had in the industry, because I
Knew what to do.
I knew that I needed to create a sense of urgency, and we had a lot to accomplish. And we were able to do that. And while I'm on that subject, let's just talk about Bates Nursery and Garden Center quickly, where that we have greatly expanded our indoor display area. I mean,
Cool.
fully half of our whole facility is undercover now. And on a day like today, where it could be raining, you got everything's in the dry. You don't even have to go outside unless you want a tree. Those are still outside, but not all the trees. The Japanese maples are inside.
Yeah.
And we have everything else in there, from ground covers to ornamental grasses, you name it, all inside. And throughout the winter months, if anytime you want to come out and just walk around to stretch your legs and maybe
Listen to the music.
listen to some music,
That's
and
nice.
so come on out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Take some photographs of your landscape project you've got coming up. You probably got some plants that don't look real good, and we'll be glad to tell you everything's going to be okay and try to work with you to get through it. the main thing we want to exercise, we want to encourage people is to don't overreact and assume that they're dead.
Why?
Well, I mean, we like to sell plants, but we also want you to save the plants that you've got. So come on out and see us, and we're going to help assure you that the damage is probably not as bad as it appears to be.
They'll hold your hand. They'll put their arm around your shoulder if you want them to. They will give you a hug should you desire.
Right, and if by chance you need some plants, well, we've got them here. At Bates Nursery.
They'll load them for you.
We've got the entire line of Earth Mix garden products, whether in bag or in bulk. So whatever your landscape or gardening needs are, if you go into Caroline's world up there, we have the most extensive selection of tropicals anywhere around. Come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Now, today, we're only open until 2 o'clock. It's New Year's Eve, and there are people who I got to get ready for New Year's, and, it takes a couple hours advanced prepreration. So
Austin's got to do his hair?
Austin's got to do his hair. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Well, we've
All that hair I got.
Yeah, he and I both spend a lot of time on hair. So, but come on out and see us. Well, like I said, we're open from 9 until 2 today.
Wow.
And
10 or 9? We open for 10?
What did I say? 9, 10? No, it's 9.
It's 9. Okay,
Yeah,
just
it is
making
now.
sure.
There's no reason to not. We're here. So
That's right.
9 until 2. Come on out and see us. But we're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. That's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. No matter where you're coming from, it's worth the drive from anywhere. Check out our website, batesnursery.com. And by the way, everything we sell is available for purchase online, including gift cards. So in an event you can't come out, you can shop our entire selection, order, arrange for delivery, all right from the comfort of your home. So check that out at batesnursery.com. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. This is the official end of our Emerald anniversary, our 90th year, coming up on 91 years starting next week.
Here we go. March to 100.
There we go.
Here we go. And speaking of here we go with another question.
We got stuff coming in everywhere.
Yeah,
all
we
over
do.
the place. All right, what
We're on
soil
fire.
should my Monstera Addisonii be in? So Monstera, philodendron, all of those fun and exciting, really popular trendy houseplants, I suggest using a well-draining houseplant soil. And what I always recommend that I use for all of mine is Earth Mix Proganics I, which we just talked about. Now with that Earth Mix, it drains really well. Those plants are going to be happy, but I do usually add either some shredded pine. I hear some coffee over there being poured in its new cup, or an orchid mix. I'll mix like a 1-to-4 ratio into the soil. And that's just going to help with drainage and help aerate those roots a little bit so they don't get quite as compacted in the soil. But you can also just use a really good houseplant potting mix and it'll be happy. I've done that with some of mine as well. Just steer clear of some people don't read the bag and they'll get an outdoor potting mix, or like even topsoil has happened before. That's not going to be good for those plants. So just, that indoor soil mix, it's going to be happy and it's going to be healthy, especially if you use Earth Mix. All right, so do we have some other questions? Google form.
Yes.
Go Google.
Okay.
Go Google.
And I will say right now, if in the event we don't get through all the questions in our normal time, I will go ahead and make it okay for us to stretch a little long if need be today. So we're going to get them all in. So bring them.
Okay. This question comes from Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Good morning, Deborah.
How much should we cut back the pansies that have wilted in the freeze? Is there anything we can give them to help them recover faster? In retrospect, it probably would have been a good idea to bring containers in and or covered them in mulch, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely. And what you're going to want to do when it comes to cutting them back is to take them back to the healthy leaves. I've got the same problem with my pansies right now. A lot of the tops have gone to that off color and a little bit mushy. You can just kind of tell they're not viable.
Nope.
So take your little snips and go out there and just, take some time to do it, and go down to those leaves that are healthy and happy. And that's about all you can do. That's another, You know, the thing we've talked about, you got to wait. We're going to have to wait. Those pansies will flush in the spring. Trust me, they'll flush and they'll bloom and they'll look great. But we do need to give them a little bit of a cleanup, and I'm actually getting ready to do that at my house too. So you're not the only
just
one.
as soon as he gets that olive tree planted.
Well, he can't do that now. So he's got
That olive tree is inside, isn't it?
It was inside, and I put it back out. It did not. Olive trees, y'all, me and Caroline were talking about this yesterday. They're a common houseplant now. They're super trendy. We don't really know why. They just kind of have that look about them to where they look kind of cool, and people want to bring them inside their home. I brought mine inside my home one day before, it got super stupid cold, and it didn't like it. Like, being in the house for literally like 3 or 4 days, it had dropped a number of leaves.
You got to have a sunny. I mean, you got to have like an atrium almost.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and just bringing it in the home to our warmer, 70-degree houses, it did not like it, and it dropped some leaves. So after the cold happened and we're back warm now, I put it right back outside.
So get out that door.
Yeah,
Go outside.
it didn't want to be inside.
Yeah.
It wanted to be out. Yeah.
It wants to be out.
Just
but not
listen
as
to
cold
them.
as it
They'll
got.
tell you. We
They
don't
will.
want to be. We don't want to be inside.
That's right.
very good.
All right.
Truth.
Let's keep it going.
Okay, Linda Guest Taylor wanted to know, or she asked, I transplanted a 15-year-old yucca because it got too large to move inside. It looks horrible. Will it survive?
Depends on what kind of yucca that is.
Yucca.
If it's a tropical yucca and you left it out, goodbye.
If it's
Yeah.
a New
And if it
Mexico
looks
yucca,
bad, then
mountain yucca,
If
you're good to
if
go.
it was even if it was a hardy yucca, say a yucca filamentosus, which is a native,
yeah.
if that was left in a container above the ground, even it is not a guaranteed thing it's going to survive. So it's a lot of questions on cultivar related as far as how good its chances are of survival are, and how you dealt with that container once you had it out of the ground. So
One thing going for you is that it is 15 years old, so it should have a pretty chunky root system, which would be nice.
And we can say it had a good life.
That too. Go out and use your hands though. Try to feel it. Feel the above parts of the plant. The stem. That's if you feel like mush. It's
not a
probably
good
not
sign.
coming back. But
Not
don't
good-
give up on it because
No.
it might come back from the roots.
Yeah, and again, this kind of
Aggressively.
goes back to what Caroline was talking about earlier with regard to another indoor plant issue. If you pull that thing out of the pot and you've got mushy roots,
Yeah.
cut those off, those tubers off, get it back down to where they're hard and firm roots, and then replant the thing and water it thoroughly. And it may recover, but it's gotten a major setback at the very least.
Absolutely. Google.
Well, we actually have a question
YouTube.
that came in from Louisa, which I do believe is our very own Louisa.
Louisa.
Yeah.
Good morning, Louisa.
Hello.
My hyacinth bulbs came up in the middle of November. I covered them during the freeze and they survived. Should I cut down all the green back down on the bulbs?
No.
Nope.
You got to leave those up. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's weird for them to come up that early, but it happens sometimes with bulbs. They can be fooled. But no, that's the growth for this season. So Louisa, we got to keep them things up. Don't be cutting on stuff, girl.
Don't be doing it, Louisa.
Okay.
And it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature.
No.
Remember that from the old commercials, Josh. You're probably the only one that remembers that. You don't remember
He
it.
doesn't
That's
look
all
like
right.
he remembers
What?
it.
It was a margarine commercial anyway.
Barbara on the Bates Facebook page was asking Austin, she was like, did Austin say put the seeds in the fridge?
Yeah.
Oh, I did say that. Yeah. All the seeds stay in the fridge. We want to keep them cold, y'all. We want to keep them dormant and not actively growing. It's kind of like if you get a bag of potatoes or something and you leave them in your house and you don't do anything with them for a minute and they start to sprout. Same thing can happen with seeds sometimes if they're presented with moisture. Moisture really triggers everything.
It's cool and less humid.
Yes. So just keep them cold. We want to mimic nature as much as we can. So keep those seeds in the fridge and make
You mimic,
them
not
think.
mock nature.
Not mock, mimic.
Yeah.
Yep.
And whenever it's time in the spring to put them out, put them out.
I probably have at least 50 seed packets in my fridge. It's time to get them in the ground, Caroline. All right. Did you have another question over there, Tom?
Yeah, actually, they keep coming. There was one that I think came into the At Home Show Facebook page.
Which one?
Charlie Smith, when's a good time to prune Rose of Sharon and how much? Also, knockout roses?
Okay, both are
Oh,
going to
there we go.
Same answer.
Both are going to be the same. Rose of Sharon or knockout roses. You're going to prune them over the wintertime. So now is a perfectly fine time to do it. Rose of Sharon and roses bloom off of new wood. We don't have to worry about any of that. So if you need to prune, but let's do it now. I mean, why not? Over the wintertime, they're dormant. Let's go ahead and get in there and cut them.
Yep.
Cool.
Very
All right,
good.
that was quick.
We got another one. Got another one.
Oh.
Okay. Eddie's replacing a row of Bradford pears.
Oh.
All right, good for you. First step.
Blessings to you.
He's looking for ideas for fast-growing trees. Leland, green giants, etc. seem to be the most common. Any alternatives?
I mean, he's had a deciduous tree there, and he's talking about replacing it with conifers.
Pox upon mankind there.
Well, I mean, if he wants to say with something deciduous, autumn blaze red maples are the current trendiest tree, and they're fast growing. They have great fall color, and it's something that's an excellent choice. That does not have all of the negative attributes. If you're looking for something that's going to be widely available, now it wouldn't have to be autumn blaze. It could be any of a number of different cultivars of maples or even other things. And we don't know how wide your spot is. Bradford pears,
pretty big,
they get pretty wide. So I'm going to believe that you have enough width to support a regular shade tree.
Don't make them all the same.
Right, and you might need to plant these slightly further away from the driveway than your Bradfords were. So just keep that in mind.
If you do want to go with evergreen plants, though, I mean, the first two you mentioned are certainly fine. Green giants are probably our best-selling screening plant. Wow.
What was that bronzen one?
Wow.
Power just went.
Oh.
Got a rolling blackout.
Are we still?
We're
working on it. Okay, that was crazy.
We're still broadcasting to the Facebook page because we saw your beautiful face.
We had a rolling flash out there.
Well, anyway, back to what I was saying. Another option could be a juniper. Junipers are very fast growing plants as well, and they're very tolerant of our soils and our climate here. So that's another one you can use.
One cautionary statement I would make about green giant arborvitaes, and they are a great choice, but they get quite large. And because of that, you want to make sure and afford them enough space to grow and give enough room in between. If you're wanting these to grow together as a hedge, you will plant them a bit closer together than you would be if you wanted to keep them as individual specimens. If you want to keep them individual plants, you ought to put them 20 feet apart. If you're not interested in that, you can put them 10 feet apart and they'll grow and make a complete wall. Now, it'll take them several years.
My guess is that they like white flowers in the springtime.
If you like that, go with Yoshino cherry. How about that? That's another good seller for us. It's similar growth habit to Bradford pear, much better plant.
They're going to get a bit wider.
They do get wide, yeah. That plant actually, Yoshino cherry can almost get more wide than it does tall, but it makes a really interesting canopy structure. Very outward facing branches and beautiful, beautiful show in the spring. So that could be an alternative to Bradford.
Very, very good.
Lovely.
Caroline, your turn.
Hello. Well, I have saved all of the freeze questions for rapid fire. So if you guys are done on that end.
Well, I need to gather up a Google freeze question too, but we have one other one, if that's okay.
Sure.
Certainly it's okay. You're the guy that has control of the flow of the program. Why would it not be okay?
Well, then I will go with the flow because I am the flow.
You are the flow. Flow, go ahead.
And here's some flow from H.L. Monroe from the Google form. When should I take the hooped row cover and frost blanket, both purchased from Bates? Thanks for that. Off my onion, garlic, and shallot plants. They are in the same bed and covered with both type blankets. I mulched both with dry leaves and straw prior to covering with these two purchased items.
Holy smokes, why aren't they off now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're going to have to watch the weather for this. I mean, you obviously did a great job at prepping before the cold happened, so good work there. And, onions and shallots and garlic are very, very, very cold hardy. So at this point, take those things off. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to have to recover at some point. We might get back cold again. Certainly, we will probably get back cold again. But at least for this week, let's get those things off. It's going to be cooking those plants if you don't.
You're dealing with diametric opposition weather. In 1 week to the next is difficult. We are running ventilation fans in buildings to make sure that heat stays down because we don't want it to get too warm. So it's very difficult when you're dealing with below zero temperatures, and then you're dealing with temperatures that are in the 60s.
Last week, do we have propane heaters running?
We had propane heaters running this time last week, and this week we've got fans running. It makes no sense.
Nope.
But it's what you have to do. So one thing gardening will make you stay on your toes, and you really can't make plans
on point, as it were.
Well, yeah, you have to do based on what the weather is giving you. And right now it's giving us warm, mild conditions. So, yep, you got to uncover those things. That doesn't mean you won't have to recover them, though, like Austin was saying.
Leave the hoops up.
Yeah, definitely leave
the structure, just get the cover off. They need that cool.
Yep.
All right. So we're ready to move on to freeze questions.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You got time.
All right, I'm going to combine quite a few of them because we did have a lot on my end today. My enormous holly trees turned black after last week's storm. Is there any hope? We touched on this a little bit earlier.
We have touched on this, yes.
Hope springs eternal. So,
That's right.
This question is also from Hope. Good morning, Hope.
Hey,
Oh, wow.
Is this our hope?
This is our hope.
I did not know that.
Nice.
I did not know that.
Hope there is hope. Yes, it's fine. It'll probably not probably. It will be fine. The big hollies got a great root system down below. We just have to wait and see where it's going to leaf back out from. So it may be half, it may be the whole thing. It might, all the buds at the very top of the plant may still crack out and be just fine. But those old leaves that look black right now are not going to just magically get better.
And one thing it's important for people to be mindful of is that even though the growth that's above the ground has gotten damaged, the root system is in good shape. Fortunately we had a rain that immediately preceded this intense freeze, so the ground was good and wet going into it. That helped provide insulation for plants in the ground. So that's a good thing. So even if things get killed back severely, the root system is undamaged. That means it still has that same root system available to push new growth that was there before the top got killed back. That means it's going to push a lot of growth once it starts.
It does. It's very quickly. It happens very quickly from the roots. They really, really shoot. Now, what we do have to deal with is that all that plant that was above the ground, if that does get killed back, then you're going to be set back with a plant that's not near as big as what you had. So expect that, but that's just.
And it's going to make you have to work at trimming a little bit, because if it's a pyramidal plant that's a corner plant for a holly, you may have to just cut it off to a ball and allow a central leader
that's going to
come back, and then you're going to have to work at it a little bit. But if gardening was easy, I guess
everybody would do it.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious! And by the way, read David's newsletter. He already talked about this last week on Thursday.
Yep. So check that out. And Scorched.
I think David is very well could be the barometer of the region of concerning plants and what we should be aware of.
Oh, definitely.
I tried to.
I think of you more as an anemometer.
Well, they're.
He's kind of windy.
Well,
he blows in the same time every week,
but not as windy as I used to be, Josh. Yep.
All
Just
right.
350 words.
Here's another question. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Does scratching the bark of a newly planted tree and it not having green mean I lost it to the deep freeze?
Not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. No. Now scratching that's not always like. There's some plants you can scratch green and they're still dead, and there's some that you can scratch brown and they may still be alive.
Where'd you scratch
for the
it?
Most part, if you're not seeing any green below that bark, it might have happened, especially because it's newly planted. It's a very new plant. So
again,
I hate to say it,
babies.
We try to encourage people to just be patient and wait.
Yes.
You don't have to make that judgment call yet.
No.
There's nothing that's making you have to do that. So just be patient.
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing you have to learn with plants is patience. By far.
What is the average last date of frost in
April
Middleton?
15th is 10th to 15th.
That's 4 months, 4.5 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's still a ways away.
Yeah, wait.
That's a long time.
Josh, that's breaking the news to him pretty severely.
Way to go, Josh.
Daddy doesn't give you what you want. Daddy gives you what you need. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we got a hellebore question. Hush, Josh.
Okay.
Didn't expect my established hellebores to take such a hard hit. Leave them alone for now? Question mark.
I am.
Yeah, and Tyler, you were talking yesterday. You had some hellebore damage, didn't you?
I did, and it was not well. They look off color, and they look like they're browning a little bit. But I mean, this is their season, so I feel like I'm not going to do any cutting until after they bloomed.
I would recommend that as well. I mean, if it's kind of like the pansies earlier. If
it's a totally brown leaf,
if they're like mush or really off color.
They're not getting crispy, but they're just like I didn't like that, Dad.
Yeah,
that's kind of how they
didn't like it at all.
But
they're going to live. They're going to be fine. And not much to do right now unless the topmost foliage is just like horrible, horrible bad. But other than that, just let them be.
Or the table with the umbrella fell over on top of one. That doesn't do them any good.
That doesn't do any good either, no. But it's another evergreen plant, and like we're broadleaf evergreen type of plant. It's kind of a weird one. It's a perennial, but it's not shrubby at all. But it keeps its leaves up and through the wintertime. So it's all those leafy things just really did not
and
like that.
And we are officially in at-home year-end overtime.
Yes.
We are in overtime. Getting your questions answered.
Well, we have a beautiful comment from Donna Brooks. And she says she loves Bates Nursery. I grew up visiting my Aunt Mary there when I was a child and watched her starting all the seeds in the spring. I visit Bates often and love the new covered areas.
Well, that's wonderful. Mary Pendleton, I'm sure, is who she is referring to as our longtime greenhouse manager. And Miss Mary, she ruled with an iron fist, and I loved her dearly. She was a wonderful lady.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Tyler, did you have some over there?
Well, one
questions?
one was a cultivar specific freeze question about a Mary Nell holly.
Oh yeah.
They've turned dark brown. It's same thing with the other hollies. You recommend that?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
And I will
very
say
large.
this, given past experience, and you don't look like this without having gained something. Nellie Stevens holly will be the most hardy of all of the upright hollies you're going to see out there. Everything else, including Foster holly, will be damaged. Now, Mary Nell is another one of those hybrids. It is sufficiently hardy, but you're going to see some damage on that. A lot of the newer holly cultivars are comparatively untested. We don't really know, so we're going to be looking closely and gathering information from all of you. So keep us posted on what you're seeing in your landscape. Take photographs and share those with us, and it'll be very helpful as we go forward and work through this whole.
Samara on YouTube said, my azaleas and laurels look like they are possibly dead, but I am going to just wait until spring and hope they come out of it.
Yep. Well, that's the thing to do.
My azaleas look terrible
too.
Mine are not great.
Particularly things such as encore azaleas, they are less winter hardy than a lot of the Caroom or Glendales or other families of azaleas. You may not get spring flowers at all. They may have to be cut back quite severely. And if you cut them, you're going to remove all the buds. Blooms. The good thing about those is that when they flush back out, they'll get flowers later on in the season. I expect that your azaleas like Hino de Gary, Crimson, Coral Bells, those will be quite hardy. They may look rough, but they'll still flower. So don't trim on those, because if you do start trimming on them, you're going to cut whatever buds that are on there off. So just be patient.
This is in many ways, a historic storm. I mean, the closest thing that I can recall, and was it 08, David, when the Easter Bunny Clipper came through? Was that 07 or 08?
That was 07.
07 Easter Bunny Clipper.
That was
the difference there was we'd had 3 weeks of really beautiful.
Then it went to 19 degrees.
Just like that.
Yeah, in the middle of what seemed like spring.
For 2 days.
Yep.
And this one is different because we're not going to know the extent of the damage. There was so many things that got just absolutely trashed in 07. So let's look.
We're not going to see the extent until later. That was kind of what was cool about this one too, is that the laurels and all the stuff we've been talking about didn't just show that right off the rip. It took 3 or 4 or 5 days for them to really show that deep, like, cellular damage on the leaves. So we're going to see.
Yeah, those cells start exploding when they get that.
Literally.
The crystals blow out the cell walls, and then so what you're seeing is cellular collapse, and those leaves and stems on many things are turning black. But that doesn't mean that they're dead.
Nope. Got to wait and see.
So what else we got?
So another skip laurel one. They looked at after the freeze. Do you have any recommendations on how to help them come back in the spring? So is it just mainly wait and see still?
It's still that.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do right now. They're dormant, even though they still have leaves, they're dormant. They're not actively growing. So we just can't do much right now to help them along.
That's the frustrating thing.
It is, and that's the patience that plants will teach you patience for sure. So even though they look bad, I'm sorry, they're going to look bad until spring. And then when spring happens and we see some sort of flush, that's when we're going to know where to cut, what to do, all of it.
Yep.
So as a final wrap up, because I have about 10 specifically like Laurel and Holly questions, and we've answered them all throughout the program. But let's go ahead and say, yes, they're probably still alive, right? Which Austin just said. They're all dormant. You have to wait months before new growth happens. Now, talking about pruning, because we had a lot of questions about that. So when is going to be the best time to do it?
3:30.
3:30, exactly. So at 3:30 any day of the week, morning, night, whatever, as long as it's 3:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m., you're going to go out there. Wrong. So when are we going to go? So we're going to wait, right?
We are going to wait and see where the new growth occurs. That's what we have to do. Whether, like I said earlier, whether it's a third of the way down the plant, halfway up, or 3/4 up, or the whole way up, maybe it'll be fine the whole way through. Any way we put it, we've got to wait to see where we want to trim first. Let's not do anything right now.
Yep. Hard to be patient right now. So
how about the safe spot in the garage for a fern? Did it get too cold to kill the fern?
In the garage, probably not.
Probably.
Hard to say.
Calm down.
Okay.
Time will tell, though.
Okay.
There's our overtime edition. In
My
the books.
Mandevilla still alive, overwintered in the garage.
How do you know?
Nice.
Does it have leaves?
It's in bloom. I have
That is what we call
I have a grow
clue.
light, and I'm skilled.
You're so
Oh,
fancy.
are you?
You're so skilled.
All right, the bonus edition of the at-home edition of the Saturday morning edition of the
New Year's
at-home
Eve
show.
Farewell to 2022. We didn't even get around to what did we
See ya.
learn.
Oh.
So maybe
learned-
next week.
Thank you for the coffee cup, Carolina.
Yes,
and
this
Austin.
was excellent.
Awesome.
Carolina
Thank you.
Cheers
And
to a
Tyler, I had
new
no
year.
part of this.
Everybody out
Happy
there.
New Year, everyone.
Don't do stupid so you can
Do
join
not
us
do
next
stupid.
Yes, don't hold my coffee. We want to see you here next Saturday morning. So be safe.